start.
All right, we'll go ahead and get started. So welcome everybody to lunchtime presentation for NCLUG and NCDOT's OpenX Update Week. Welcome everybody to the call and presentation. This session is going to be on OpenBridge Designer Modeler, also known as structures. And we're going to have Nick Pierce or Nicholas Pierce present today. Just for a few housekeeping details. This is a webinar presentation, so please keep yourself muted unless you need to ask a question. Feel free to jump in the chat and ask questions throughout. We'll definitely, if they're not immediately answered, we'll have a Q&A at the end where Nick can chime in and answer those questions. We will be recording this webinar, so we'll be available on the NCLUG site after this, after we're done editing it. But you will not be able to receive PDH credit for viewing that recording. We will put a link to the PDH credit in the chat box towards the end of the meeting, and we'll also send that out to all registered people that register for this event. With that, I will hand it over to Nicholas Pierce. Thank you for joining us, and take it away.
All right, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you good.
Great. I don't know if there's going to be much difference between the last presentation I did, but let's get started here. Let me see. Oop. All right, so let's go through most common acronyms. Got OBD for OpenBridge Designer, OBM, OpenBridge Modeler, DT for Digital Twin, and LOD for Level of Detail. You get a lot of questions about what is the difference between OpenBridge Modeler and OpenBridge Designer. OpenBridge Modeler allows you to do 3D and 2D drafting. OpenBridge Designer includes OpenBridge Modeler, but also has the Leap design software and allows you to transfer model data between the two. So that's the big difference. Structures is using OpenBridge Designer. That way there's no worries with DIT on what to put on people's machines, which is just the same software across everybody's. All right, digital twin. We're gonna call. I think Bentley uses the term model so much that people are getting confused. So we're just going to use the term digital twin to mean our 3D representation of our intent for design. All right, our migration plan. We're in phase 1 right now. We, as of January of 2022, structures stopped using V8 totally. We've disconnected it and are just using OpenBridge Designer. And we are continuing on with our previous projects that were done in V8. So we're going to continue those out and then start new projects in OpenBridge. Phase 2, we don't really have a date for that. We're waiting for everybody else to get into ORD so we can start connecting our digital twins to other digital twins and building projects from scratch that way. And when we do that, we're just going to do a digital twin and 2D plans. And the digital twin is going to be more of a reference only for now. When we move to phase 3, that's when we're expecting to be more into a full digital twin for letting. And that's, as far as we can see, a really far out date. All right, so when we talk about those phase 2 deliverables, we're talking about 2D plans, PDFs that are probably generated from a digital twin. So you would create that digital twin first and then use the tools within OpenBridge to generate the 2D plans and then create your PDFs from that. And we would have a digital twin, a preliminary digital twin that would be shared with other units as you're going through the design, and then your final. So the level of detail for those digital twins, we're expecting to be in phase 2, just a level of detail 300, which is more of an accurate model that uses the element carcasses or shells, the outlines, nothing internal. So it's just defining the shapes and sections and making sure that things are in the right location. You've got the correct lengths and size and orientation of all the members for what you are designing. So for the deck, that means you've got the right thickness and out to out. You've got the correct barrier rails and the heights and sidewalks and clear roadways, super elevations, things like that. And a big factor I need to point out, things are on the correct levels with the correct features and materials assigned. And that would be the same for all of the units, or all of the structures components. So superstructure, the girders, you're using the correct girder. They've got the right lengths. They're on the right levels. Features assigned, materials assigned. Same for bearings, in the correct location, right orientation, types, heights, etc. Substructure, so indents and bents, again, got them in the right locations. You've got them at the correct elevations. You've got the correct out to out, widths, heights, um, correct spacing for foundation types, and levels and features and materials assigned. So one big change from V8 to OpenBridge is that we've done away with our scales tools here that everyone was familiar with in V8. So we used to just work in that design space, and we would click on the engineering or metric or English toolboxes there, and it would from that we could set the scale. And what we were doing was actually just scaling plan sheets and things right in the design model within the DGN. So we've done away with that. We're moving on to working in the 3 different model spaces within a DGN. So design, drawing, and sheet models. This is in preparation for when we actually build that digital twin, which will be done in the design model space. And you use the tools to cut the sections. It's going to generate that drawing model and the sheet model. So we're just trying to get used to, while we're still working in the 2D world, getting used to that workflow change within the software itself. So here I've got what's being done in the design model space is we're just drawing things, the elements, one-to-one, and that ends up getting referenced either by a direct reference or by using a tool such as the place name boundary tool to throw it into the drawing space. And that's where we're doing dimensioning and callouts. And then in our sheet model space is where we've got our border referenced in, and maybe some cells if we need them to show details. We would have our bill of materials for our quantity tables for this what is shown on the plan. We have our callouts and labels as far as elevation or typical section, plan view, also filling in the title block information, and then drafters and checkers. And I can go show you an example in a minute of how we're doing this. All right, future workspace changes. Still working on getting those tools set up to go from our digital twin to cutting a section and getting it thrown onto our plan sheet. We've been working on that for a while. Still potential workflow changes. We have not had an actual start to finish real project that we've had to work on with ORD and OpenBridge. We've done some test projects, but it was really just recreating things we've already done. So I think until we actually start a project from scratch and having to figure out how we do things in Open Roads and OpenBridge, currently we're still doing that workflow of roadway to hydraulics to structures, but we potentially see the change of going from roadway maybe to structures to develop a preliminary digital twin for then to send a hydro to look at, which may get kicked back for some tweaks and there, here and there, and then eventually just moving on to the final digital twin creation. There are some known issues we have with the software. I guess approach slabs, number one here, they're supposed to be fixing in the new version. I think Steve or Alex today at 2 o'clock is doing a presentation on the new release that's supposed to address this. Expansion joints, we still don't know how to show those on the digital twin. Dual bridges, so bridges side by side on the same alignment. You can make a fake offset or use offset alignments, or just have the roadway person split the alignment at that location. MSC walls we're still trying to figure out. It looks like it, from what we've been told, needs to be done in ORD. So is that roadway or geotech? We don't know. Slope protection, same thing. From Bentley's point of view, it's being done in ORD, so that would be roadway or hydraulics. Culverts, really we got to put in a fake alignment in the stream and then use our box girder templates to put in a box, but we're not really getting anything for as far as the structure plans. There is no Leap design software to take this Model 2 and design it and bring it back for in the future to put reinforcement in it. So sounds like that would all have to be done in Pro Structures or Pro Concrete, something if in the future. I guess that's it. I forgot to mention that in the future we hoping to do everything in the managed workspace within ProjectWise. Again, this is so we are linked with roadway and hydro and everybody. That's another thing with moving to Open Roads and OpenBridge. We're more dependent on referencing everybody else's files in. We're running into the problem now that we've moved to OpenBridge in our office and have picked up projects that have been started in V8. We don't have the files in a lot of our internal server because consultants are doing a lot of the roadway and hydro and that work. If we were using ProjectWise, those files would be in there for us to reference. We've got to ask the different units or consultants to send us the files so that we can get it. And then we hope that we're using the latest and greatest. But if we go to ProjectWise, everybody should be working in there and we should all be linking to the latest and greatest files. So that's a future hope here with moving into ProjectWise. Yes, I was going to show you guys. So here's a file I've done where this bent was drafted completely in the design space here, or design model. And I've used it, if I bring it up here, the different model spaces. So we have a design model, an elevation, plan, and a sheet. And these elevation and plans were generated from this design model. So I drafted the bent 1-to-1 here. And then I used the place name boundary tool. That's what this box is around it, which then generated my drawing models, where I came in and I labeled things, whether it's callouts or here I did dimensions. And then it also got referenced into my sheet space, which has my referenced in border. I was then able to place my quantities table as a cell right here on the border. And then I can come in and also do things like fill out my project labels for the title block, and I labeled the views here in the sheet space. And then I would also put, which I haven't done here, put who drew it and who checked it. And I hate to have rushed through this, but that's really all I have. I guess I'll.
Yeah, we can definitely take some questions. So feel free to unmute yourself or add it to the chat box, and I'll read it out for them. Anybody have any questions? Has NCDOT developed a parametric civil cell for modeling invents with wings or alternate methods of handling wings?
We have not done any parametric cells yet. There are tools in the OpenBridge workflow for placing wings, which is right there. So you can place the wings and play with making them how they need to be angled or the length and that, based off of the what you put in for your invent. We just haven't got around to developing any parametric cells yet.
All right. How is the V8 cell library used in the OpenBridge?
Okay, so let me just create a new model here. I'm just going to create another sheet model and show you that real quick. So there's two ways. One, you can either, if you're doing your entire project from scratch, and this was just a file that you needed to have your standard in, you can come here and pick one of the standards. And you can place it in here in your sheet. Now this one is direct scale, which I know is the only way we found this to work. Direct scale was actually engineering 1 to 10. So that should move that box. So when you go to print, if you've set up your what is it called here? If you set up your print organizer to just grab a whole bunch of your DGNs and you're telling it to plot from the sheet models, this is the only way to do it. If you were doing it the old way, if you're still doing V8 files, you would need to have dropped, and I can do it again here, drop that directly into your design model. Because then when you set up your print file, you're going to tell all your DGNs to print from your default or design model space, and you're going to tell it to look for and print what's inside of the plot shape or plot shape cell, as it'll show in the manual. So it depends which way you're working. If you're still doing V8 drawings and you need to use one of these standards, pull it into the design space. If you're doing a new OpenBridge workflow and you've done everything, using the design, drawing, and sheet models, then you need to place the standard into the sheet model. But you may need to change the scale based on what the standard scale was. Okay, I hope I answered that question.
Jason's got one. Are any 2D sheets coming directly from slices of the 3D model? I guess this is a non-standard bridge.
Okay, so when we actually build the digital twin, yes, and we have to set those up. I think they may work a little bit, but not 100% yet. And this is one of those things that we need to probably get back with Ethan about to make sure our plan sheets are actually working, because we have to create our plan sheets in OpenRoads, of course. Where is that tool? There is a tool to use. As soon as I remember where it's at. Oh, I'm in the sheet space. That's why I don't see it. And I think it's. There's a tool for cutting the, yeah, it's here. There's also not a 3D digital twin in here. But if I had a digital twin in here, I would use these tools here, which are create drawings and create, and that's where I would cut my sections from my digital twin, and it would automatically start to generate these drawing and sheet models based off of pulling the correct scale plan sheets. So we're hoping to get there. All right, which model or product?
Which model or product will be delivered to the roadway or to roadway for incorporating into their plan sheets? I guess which model or what are you giving back to roadway or hydraulics?
Okay, so we will set up a master model or digital twin of the bridge per structure. And that would be what would be referenced back to roadway to incorporate in.
Okay. So we the structures model into the roadway model.
Correct.
Will annotative scale flow through the multiple nesting models, sheet drawing to design?
Yes, there is a way to do that. So when I used the tool here, the place name boundary, it asked me what scale I wanted to use, and originally threw it over here. And these were actually a little too big for the plan sheet, so I had to come in here and change the scale number here to get it to fit how I wanted it to look on the plan sheet. And then I had to go back to the drawing model. And I had to change this scale here to equal what I had changed the proportion back in the sheet space. And the scales are in the miscellaneous chapter in our manual. So the 7/16 inch scale should be 1:28. And that reduces it down so that it fits on our 1:1 plan sheet. But the tool actually asks you if you want to do that, and it'll do that for you. Sometimes you don't really know what scale is going to look good, right? Because you don't know what all you're going to have on your plan sheet. So when it did fit it on here, it tries to fit it in this box that's automatically in the border. And that's what I was saying. It was a little too big, so I had to scale it down so I could get my quantities table and notes in here. So it kind of does that. It'll change the scale and do it all through that workflow, but you may have to adjust it based on what you want to add to your plan sheet.
All right, we got another question. How do you recommend consultants add their logo to the title block?
We recommend it being a cell that you could just place in here somewhere on the, usually it's near the PE seal. Just make it a cell and make it so you can have a point to put it at. So a lot of firms will pick like here or the corner of this box and place it as a cell.
All right, got a big one for you here, Nick. Can we discuss the assumption that either roadway or geotechnical or hydraulics will be modeling structure walls and slope protection because NCDOT structures doesn't have the ORD software? Can NCDOT structures, in quotations, and PEF structures load ORD and model it in themselves? And then there's the need to create plan sheets with open roads. Sounds like structure needs to load open roads. So I guess just you mentioned earlier of who's going to be, actually designing the slope protection and different items. Is there any thoughts on structures using open roads on it?
We don't have any updates of open roads on our machines. In fact, a lot of them don't even have open roads. So it's still in discussion. We've been asking Bentley if there are ways to do this. So we'll see.
When cross sections are cut for roadway, cross section sheets will sections that fall on the bridge be cut from the master model or I guess the structures model? I guess when they go through the cross sections, are we able to use the referenced in model to get those cross sections on the bridge?
That's probably a good question for Oak. I don't know how ORD would be doing that if you had our model referenced in. Again, we don't play in the ORD world.
Yeah, and this was seen, but I mean, yeah, good.
Yeah, it will come in fine. Anything that's model, it's just a solid model, right? Whether it's done with OBM or ORD, if it's a solid that's reference, when we cut cross section, it just shows up in cross. Same thing for pipes and other item that's model.
So pretty much any cross section cut from the master model that has all the different models referenced.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be the master model. We can reference, another DGN. It could be a model from structure. It could be a model from hydraulics. Whether it just has to be in 3D. As a solid shape or solid, thing to it. Then when we cut cross section, it shows up.
And yeah, and that's my assumption too. This is Wasim, with that whole OpenX thing. Same thing with open grounds, and it all ties into Dean Services question. Same thing, and we'll probably find out once open grounds is in place. Similar concept where the walls and the geotechnical side of the project, as long as it's OpenX, my assumption is it should be all tied in together, and should work fine.
Yeah, we just reference it. It's just a DGN is a DGN. It doesn't matter if it's produced by OBM or Open Grounds or ORD. If we can reference it, we show it in 3D, and when we cut cross section, anything that's in that line of sight will be cut and shown in the cross section sheet. I guess the offset of that question would be how would you label things like that? Because we like to label pipes when that's modeled by structure. I mean hydraulics. So when we do the annotation, I guess there's going to be multi-disciplinary models that we're cutting that cross-section sheet with, and how do we label all those model that's or digital twin now that you guys are referring to. How do we label those digital twins from multiple units?
So looks like we got 2 answers to previous questions, just from the chat. OBM, it has a linear template tool today if structures wanted to model the walls. So I guess there sounds like there's some linear templates that can be used. And then also, sounds like OpenGround is a bore log software and not, to his understanding, has any tools for creating walls. So it's more of a geotechnical bore log program, but we can see. All right. Any other questions for Nick?
It's too quiet.
All right, I have a question, Nick. What of all the different things that you guys are waiting on to kind of fully implement the full OpenBridge program, what would you say the highest priority from Bentley that you guys are needing that to happen and to do your designs?
From Bentley. I don't know if there's a lot we're needing from Bentley right off the top. There's a lot more other things that need to be solved first until we can actually get in here and figure out what more we need, I guess, from Bentley. So I don't really have a good answer for that one.
Yeah, no problem. We'll give another second for anybody who wants to add some questions or unmute yourself and ask a question.
I do know there is one thing for digital twin creation that we have been stuck on. I guess we're hoping Bentley would answer for us, is how to deal with metal rails, especially with variable post spacing.
Post spacing.
Yeah.
Hey, this is Steve Wilby. Can you hear me?
I hear you, Steve.
Well, I guess it depends on your goal for that metal railing is, for example, Texas DOT, they've created or had created, I'm not sure who did it for them, but they did 3D line styles for all their metal railing and seem pretty happy with that solution. The shortcoming of it is it's really only doing it from a modeling point of view. It shows up in your 3D model, but if you cut a section, it doesn't show up in any kind of a section. So what he did, what Edgar did at TxDOT, is in his barrier library, he has barriers, just your basic concrete ones without railings, and he has some with railings, where he basically created the outline of the barrier with the railing so that if you did cut a section, you know, the section's going to look correct. But modeling wise, it's incorrect because it's really just an extruded 2D shape along the deck. You know, if you wanted to get more detailed with the railing, that's probably where the Pro Steel software would have to come into play to help you model anything steel related on your structure to a pretty high LOD. And then that way, if it's done with that, then yeah, these are microstation solids now. So they're going to show up in sections and in anything else you might need.
All right, thanks, Steve. We did try the line style. Well, the problem we ran into is, again, when you cut it, you don't see it, or the post spacing ended up being uniform where we have in real life variable. So
yeah, and I don't know if line styles are going to give you an easy way to vary your spacing and things like that either. It's probably going to, the line style is really going to be more just for visualization purposes only.
right.
Steve, this is James Hawk.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, me and Nick's tossed this around quite a bit, and we come to like a conclusion, with the 3D line styles, the only purpose that was really going to serve would be visual on the model itself. I guess what we're trying to look for is something, that, like you said, is probably going to be done in Pro Steel that's going to actually let us do some quantities from that rail.
Yeah,
Well,
I agree.
yeah.
And with the new version of OpenBridge that hopefully going to be out here very shortly, you actually will have the ability to enable either like a Pro Concrete or a full Pro Structures license from inside of OBM. So you do have to have that extra license, but you don't have to separately install Pro Concrete or Pro Structures or anything like that. So, it's essentially all being installed already. We're just giving you an easy way to request a license from inside of OBM. And that would also give you the full ribbon menu of those products and their workflow within your OBM session. So you won't have to leave OBM to go do either rebar detailing or steel detailing. You can do all of it from the same place.
And that's kind of the stuff we tossed around, it really wasn't, we didn't know whether it was really worth it to us, to make those 3D line styles if they were just for visual purposes only.
Yep.
Sure.
Maybe another option to explore. Look, this is Alex Maverick. We are experimenting, studying the option to use generative components for these highly customized elements. We have done it for precast barriers, for example, not extruded, but actual segments of barriers along the deck. Seems to work well, and it creates a solid. So that's option that we're studying as well. Right. And then also I see a lot about the linear templates. We're trying to incorporate these on the next releases, but it's challenging because not only just to have activate linear templates to do a slow protection or retaining walls, but then you need to know a little bit more about template libraries and creating your own templates if you want to. Kind of a subset of what you can do in roads. So that's what we're studying right now for next releases.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah. So we're trying to have the bridge department be completely sustainable by itself, right? Not relying on this is roadway work or this is geotech work.
Right.
Bridge should be doing all with one platform, right? OpenBridge model.
So I think Steve wrote in here earlier that we can, in OpenBridge, put in linear templates for modeling walls. I think previously we looked into that, but that was running parallel with the road. Can we put it perpendicular to the road and under one of our abutments or indents?
That will be a linear template. Yes, that will be a linear template, and you can do it.
They simply follow. Yeah, they simply follow an alignment. So you just have to kind of have an alignment established, and then you hover over that alignment, and you can apply a linear template to any alignment and profile.
Yep.
Okay.
So basically, it's a roadway tool. That's why we said at this time use Open Roads, because Open Roads has all the tools, right? It has the linear template. It has create alignments is in Open Roads, OpenBridge. Linear template is in Open Roads and OpenBridge. But the target aliasing and benching stuff or template editor, because sometimes you want to edit that template, that is only Open Roads. We're trying to pour it into OpenBridge. So we're studying that option right now.
Oh, great. All right. I think somebody else had another question.
It looks like we're at Patrick Holder. If you're drawing the structure geo-referenced on top of the roadway reference, how do you go about using the geopack file for stations and offsets and such?
I think Ethan answered that question for us.
Okay.
Thanks, Ethan.
Thank you, Ethan.
Jim Austin, is NCDOT and SMU planning on having any additional actual training of OBD and how it pertains to NCDOT work, or is it something that each PEF is going to be responsible for?
I don't know about training, but we do have the manual out there on our website. And if you have questions, you can always contact Hawk or myself.
Oak, will SMU or OBM provide structure anchor units as 3D cells?
Are you looking for like guardrail attachment? Oak?
Yes, yes. We have 3D guardrail and we're just trying to tie that to the bridge rail.
Steve or Alex, do you guys have a good way to do this? Or to make it a 3D cell, I guess?
We haven't created anything. I don't know if there's anything in OBM or not.
These
To
are
what? I'm
3D
sorry.
cells for what?
So it's
Right.
just attaching the guardrail. There's a section of guardrail that gets bolted to the bridge rail.
Okay.
Just anchor units for 3D anchor unit cells.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you could create a 3D cell of it and just use our tools to place it out there. Is it
But
placed
there are
on like your deck or slab, or is it I guess it depends on what all you make part of the 3D cell, right?
yeah. There's no default ones in OBM though, right?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay. Yeah, that's something we'll probably have to create up.
We appreciate it on the road side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys are doing the approach guardrail though as a line style though, aren't you? Or is
Yeah.
that
Yeah. So we have a line style for guardrail, 3D line style, and then in the cross section we showed as a cell, 2D cell.
so? We'll probably have to look into that.
We haven't really gotten deep into creating the 3D cells and stuff that we need yet. We're working toward that. You know, we just tried to get people in here doing 2D right now. And then me and Nick are working toward everything else 3D.
Yeah, that would help us out a lot.
Okay, we'll
Just
put
keep
that.
that.
We'll note that.
It's on the list.
All right. Thank you.
Have Allison or had trouble getting an accurate shape for end-bent caps in the 3D model. The digital twin will have the right general shape, but beam seats, bottom of cap slopes are difficult to customize, and elevations would not be accurate to the inch or fraction of. Would that be close enough for phase 2?
Guess we'd have to see what difficulties you're having.
Yeah,
So,
we would probably have to get in there and mess with that and see what difficulties you're talking about, because I mean, we pretty much want to get as accurate as we can. And
yeah, we've done quite a few digital twin creations and end up pretty close to the plans that we had done in 2D.
I mean, we are like they're talking about, we are within a fraction of an inch of everything we've done. But
yeah. Any other questions?
that was the last one. I don't see nobody else unless somebody else has one. With no geopack file, input or output, etc., what would be the best way to check geometry and have a record of that check?
So you can use the civil tools in here to check. Use the analyze point, and you can click on points and get the stations, offsets, and elevations. Otherwise, you're just going to have to. Is it within the view, Steve, right, or Alex? You can get the elevations by clicking on the elements.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you just want to check if the elevation that you place the element is just microstation, so you just kind of snap to the point and it should give you the right elevation. Now,
if
to
we
check
wanted to run it-
geometry, there is also geometry reports, not on
Yes.
bridge, but also in the civil part. if I can type it correctly, geometry reports that you see below that, your icon, geometry reports, and you can just, run the alignment profile and then just tells you if the alignment is correct or the profile is properly defined or super elevation. So you can run a lot of reports from that if you need to.
Yep.
Now,
Right.
also
Yeah.
in this new release that is coming, we are introducing the civil labeler. The civil labeler that it was basically the same development in open roads. We put it as a new icon on the next release that is going to come soon. So you can actually do a station offset. You can do, elevation reports and all of that, just like labeling tools, right? No more analysis. So you can use that too. Then run the reports.
And there's civil analysis. You got the analyze point tool. If you have an alignment there, click on the alignment and you can just start snapping any point on your structure, and it's going to give you northing, easting, and elevation, station offset. Yeah, that first one there, Nick.
Yep.
That's going to let you, kind of manually snap to things. Otherwise, under the reports and drawings tab, the input report gives you all the information that was used to model the structure. And then there's like a peer report that does, we keep trying to embellish or add more information to those reports. But if there are things y'all are wanting to see there, I guess let us know, additional information you'd like to see back on those elements. And we can also start doing item types related information now that can be computed and placed on those elements to maybe help with some of that as well.
Yeah, we're still looking into using the item
types.
Mm-hmm.
If y'all go to Structure Design's webpage, we do have our PDF manual for OpenBridge on there. Nick has kind of got a section in there that talks about these civil tools.
Yeah, I'm curious if folks could be maybe a little more, explain a little more what kind of problems they're having with modeling these caps.
Yeah, I'm kind of interested in that too.
Now, do y'all slope your cap, or you typically just do steps on them?
We kind of do both.
Okay.
Be kind of interested for some of these people to reach out to us maybe and let us set up a Teams meeting or something and see what you're having trouble with.
Yeah, please let them know kind of what y'all need there. Coming in the next release that Alex was mentioning is there is the ability to slope the cap to have it more truly follow the deck slope. So that is coming here as well. I don't know if that addresses any problems anyone's having, but I do remember when I was on site a couple years ago when we started this whole process, we modeled a single span bridge there in Raleigh somewhere. It was about as wide as it was long. It was a straight bridge on a curved alignment and had several different sets of beam spacings. And, we just, on our first shot through there, all of our step elevations or pedestal elevations matched to the 100th of a foot what was in the plans.
Right, I remember that.
Yeah.
I still got that model somewhere.
I was gonna say that appears in a lot of your presentations.
Yeah, that was a good little bridge. So it can be done, but I mean it does. You got to be careful, right? We got to get all the right input. We're just modeling it from the top down. So as long as the deck thickness is right and the haunches are right and the beams are right, then the beam seats should just kind of come out in the wash there.
So like, yeah, Allison or who was it, Jonathan, if y'all want to reach out to us or something, maybe we'll set up a Teams meeting or something and see what kind of issues y'all are having.
Yeah, Hawk, I'll have to get back into what my issue was. It's been probably a couple of months now that I've been into it, so I don't have it off the top of my head, unfortunately. But yeah, I'll do that.
Okay.
We're here if you have any questions.
Rob DeCola, can you speak to the interpretability between OBM and LBC, specifically if changes to reinforcing in LBC will override reinforcing that has been set up with Pro Concrete and or vice versa?
Steve or Alex, you want to answer that one?
Yeah, but no, there is no interaction so far. I mean, you can, at this time, we can transfer some reinforcement. Actually, if you're designing Liebridge concrete, the column and the footing standard, you can send the reinforcement back to OBM and it will show us raw concrete elements, right? That's one-way interaction. However, if you change the design, it's not going to interact and change the OBM model, right? And I'm correct myself, as Steve is correcting me, it's fine. It's only the footing yet, and we're trying to increase that. But again, it's not going to interact that if you change the analytical rebar, it's not going to update automatically the pro concrete one. It just creates the entities, but it doesn't connect to each other. We're trying to, create more and more elements, footings, columns, caps, right? But we are not there yet.
Thanks, Alex. Any other questions?
I'm putting the email address for Jeff and his team, so definitely reach out if you have any other questions. If you didn't want to reach directly out to the structures and to DOT, that can definitely still get you the right place. So feel free to reach out to that. And so thank you to Nick and the team for making this presentation and answering questions. Sounds like we got quite a few questions asked there towards the end. Our next session is going to be OpenX Q&A wrap up with Jeff. So he's going to have kind of a wrap up session for this week. Any other questions you want to pose to multidisciplinary, kind of questions, that would be a great time to talk through that with everybody on the line. That's going to be at 2:30 to 3:30, and you can sign up for that on the website if you haven't yet. So I would like to thank Nick and his team. PDH credits are in the comment section. They also will be sent out to everyone that's registered for this event, and we'll upload the recording of this here shortly. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Stephen.
Ian. Thanks, Nick. Thanks, Hawk.
Thank all y'all.
Thank you.